the Frindle Files by Andrew Clements, Chapter 27, Journalism. Wait, I have to get off! The bus driver looked at Josh in his mirror and shook his head. Sit down now! Josh hurried back to his seat, got out his phone, and took a photo of a blue van in the school parking lot with a huge logo on its side. KCBS2 News. Changing his aim, Josh snapped 3 people walking toward the front doors, a woman wearing a gray suit, a younger woman carrying a camera and a tripod, and a tall guy wearing a Dodgers cap and holding a backpack in one hand and a large microphone in the other. Josh sent a text to Vanessa. You still at school? On the bus. Why? TV crew from CBS 2 just arrived. Saw them as we pulled out of the parking lot. Cool. So we should actually watch TV news tonight. Josh, it's starting. Josh hurried into the family room and sat beside his mom on the couch. Does this have anything to do with the permission slip I signed the other night? She asked. It might, he said mysteriously, but that's all I'm going to tell you. Don't want to ruin the surprise, and you always say how it's good to be patient, right? My life was a lot easier when you were Sophie's age. After stories about an emergency airplane landing, a fiery truck crash, 4 different crimes, 3 traffic jams, and 6 celebrity sightings, plus 12 muted commercials and 3 texts from Vanessa, Josh had become the impatient one. He muted the TV again and said, Is the news always like this? Always, his mom said with a sigh. Whatever we're waiting for could show up any time between now and 6:30, or maybe tomorrow morning, or maybe never. Just because they have a story doesn't mean they broadcast it. That stinks, he said. Josh unmuted as the woman at the anchor desk said, Right after this break, Bonnie Carling pays a visit to Clara Vista Middle School. Stay with CBS 2 News at 5, his mom said. Our patience is about to pay off. Yeah, this is it. And then he muted again. Josh's phone buzzed with a text from Vanessa, checking to be sure he was watching. Then again with a message from Miguel. His video had topped 170,000 views and was still climbing. The kitchen door slammed and Sophie trotted in. Josh's dad followed with pizza and plates. Anybody hungry? Sophie went straight for the remote. Play Bluey! Play Bluey! Josh held the remote out of reach. No, Sophie. We have to watch something else first and then Bluey, but only if you're quiet. Josh's dad handed Sophie a picture book and a bag of jumbo Legos, which was good timing because the commercials had ended and the news anchors were back. Josh unmuted and took a big bite of pizza just as the next segment began. I'm Bonnie Carling, reporting from Clara Vista Middle School in southern LA County. This is Mr. Raymond Ortega, who has been the principal here for the past 24 years. Mr. Ortega, I understand that some of your students have launched an email and YouTube campaign to take down a pirate. Do I have that right? Mr. Ortega smiled at her. Not exactly, at least not the kind you might be thinking of. A book pirate. Bonnie, someone who puts ebooks online without permission. That's illegal, of course. Now he beamed at the camera. Our students discovered an error-filled downloadable version of The Elements of Style, a famous book about writing by William Stunk Jr. and E.B. White. They were rightfully upset, so under the guidance of their ELA teacher and with their parents' permission, they set out to demand the ebook be removed permanently. He turned solemn. So if you receive an email with the subject line for Wilbur, I hope you will pay attention to it and help these students with their cause. The location shifted, and now the reporter stood by herself with the Elements of Style in one hand and Charlotte's Web in the other. Josh pointed. See that? Where she's standing? That's the hallway outside Mr. N's room. Sophie whispered, Quiet, or no Bluey. This is The Elements of Style, and it is the classic textbook Principal Ortega just mentioned. E.B. White, the famous author of Charlotte's Web, knew of this writing book when he took a college class from its author, William Strunk. Many years later, E.B. White revised the book, and many people now call it Strunk and White. Through the years, it has sold more than 10 million copies. I'm walking into a 6th grade classroom here at Clara Vista Middle School, and this is Mr. Alan Nicholas. Mr. Nicholas, when you and your ELA students began this campaign to get an ebook removed, did you have any idea that the project would cause such a stir? That was never the goal, and to be clear, this effort began with my students, 2 of them in particular. They decided it was just plain wrong that an ebook about grammar and good writing should be breaking so many of its own rules, and they decided to do something about it. Well, you and your students have the full support of this news station. She addressed the camera. If you want to help, please reach out to the contact information seen at the bottom of your screen. It's a hotline and email we set up just for this project, she added with a smile at Mr. N. We heard there was a little problem with the school email system, so we decided to help out. Thank you. My students are going to be very excited to see this news report and about any additional support they receive because of it. Before we go, may I ask you another question, Mr. Nicholas? Sure. Did your name used to be Nicholas Allen, and did you grow up in Westfield, New Hampshire? Josh leaned forward as the camera zoomed in on Mr. N's face. It was plain that this question was totally unexpected, but he managed an awkward smile anyway. I am guessing you already know the answer to your question, Ms. Carling. Yes, I was born in Westfield, New Hampshire, and back then my name was Nicholas Allen. I'm sorry to surprise you this way, but I had to ask. A researcher at CBS 2 discovered your name change, and this young woman told me that your original name is associated with the word she had never seen before. Yes, said Mr. N, nodding slowly. Frindle. Sophie's head bobbed up. She pointed at the TV, screeched, Frizzle! And then clammed both hands over her mouth as the reporter kept talking. But the word Frindle was not new to me, Mr. Nicholas. I was in 5th grade at a school near Chicago, and when my friends and I found out that we could stop using the word pen and use a completely new word instead, we did it. We all did it. Back then, I didn't think about where Frindle had come from or who had invented it, and really, that was the best part. It seemed like we had discovered the word all by ourselves, and if we didn't keep on using it would die. And Frindle did become a real word. Our word. That experience had a big impact on my childhood, and it still means a lot to me today. And just here in the Los Angeles area, there could be a million other people who would want to join me and say thank you for inventing Frindle. With both those secrets suddenly made public, Josh thought Mr. N might be upset or at least annoyed. But as the camera zoomed in on his face again, there was nothing but warmth in his smile. You're very welcome, except your Frindle experience didn't happen only because of me. If it hadn't been for my 5th grade teacher, you never would have heard that word. So really, we should both be thanking her. And what is your teacher's name? Mrs. Lorelei Granger. Goodbye.